And we're live.
Hi guys, this is Val from LocalCoinSwap, and Daniel is as well here. Today we have a nice treat for you. Taylor joined this M&A. Now I see that there are 11 already waiting and listening. In the meantime, there are several questions from the community that have been submitted, from people who couldn't join, and maybe we can dive into that. So we made a little overview for ourselves, and we'll mention the person's name and a quick overview of the question itself. So Abda submitted several questions. The first one is about the referral program, a little bit a controversial topic. His question is referral program, any decision on the reward? Okay, guys, so in terms of the referral program, maybe we'll need to clarify a few things here. So far, we haven't decided anything to give people a little bit more time to express their opinions. But I do feel we need to elucidate further what the purpose of the referral program really is about. So the referral program is really, targeted to gain more volume to the LocalCoinSwap platform. I think that's quite obvious, but I think it's very important to notice that it's not really, some people share the link and they'll get some level of traffic towards the platform. But the referral program is really targeted towards big influencers, basically people who hopefully would be willing to spend really time and effort in, let's say, the digital age format in terms of blogging and podcast and YouTube videos and every other possible way. And why let's say, the 20, or I'm a big fan of the 30% reward. First of all, this is a success-based fee, right? So we're not going to spend any money that we're not going to make. So it's also that there's nothing spent, just for example, with advertisement, we can spend quite a lot of money with very uncertain results. So the referral program had huge advantages from that point, that everything that will be spent will actually create much more value. At the same time, when we want to attract certain influencers and people, you want to give them proper incentive to really invest into something, because their earning potential will only grow over time. And 30% is really, potentially interesting to incite them. Of course, that sounds quite high, but some other exchanges, let's not name names, had a referral program of 40%, which was humongously successful. So the idea here is that the referral program should really generate much more volume and trade liquidity on the platform. Now, some people said but it should come from different budgets and this and that. Of course, that's all discussable. But at the end of the day, if we're gonna, and hopefully we will have humongous success with the referral program in general, this could generate up to millions in profit, and and it needs to be sustainable. So a cut from the commission itself for referral was, in my opinion, quite fair for now. And I guess that was the question, any decision about that. For now, we didn't put it in the freezer, not even in the fridge. It's on the shelf, where we wanted to listen to you guys. And optimally speaking, we might have considered to do a vote on this. Of course, the previous vote was done through the token system itself, and we wanted to do that on the platform itself. However, that's not finished yet, so it's a little bit in the limbo, but we'll definitely come back to that very soon. I personally find it's extremely important to push it forward, but of course we want to make sure that we listen to everybody and try to find the middle ground and hear everybody's grievances or opinion before we move forward. I think I know that I can speak like a waterfall, so I'm going to move to the next question. Maybe, guys, Daniel or Taylor, if you want to add anything at any time, feel free to interrupt. Next question is also from Abdus. I think he had up to 5 or 6, but let's cover them. He was the first one to submit them. A partnership was mentioned, but nothing has been communicated so far. Any developments? Well, we do have a very interesting partnership in pipeline. It was actually as good as a done deal. However, some of the team members that we were interacting with left the project for a better offer. And because of that, we kind of went a few steps back. It's still in the works, and we hope that we can announce very soon. But we are a little bit independent or in function of the other team to get their things in order, and so we also operationally can implement it, because announcing is easy. We really need to make it happen. I'm not going to give away much more, but when I say that, that means there is also some kind of operational activity that needs to happen and could be a potential nice benefit for LCS holders. There is also another partnership that we built with a different type of partner, and this will be actually announced, I'm not sure this week, but latest next week. We wanted to prioritize the other blockchain project first, but since that's somewhat delayed, we'll focus on the second partnership and announce it latest next week. For the next question, I think I'll give the baton to Daniel. You have the floor, my dear.
Sure. So the next question is, how far are we away from crypto to crypto trading? So we've actually had a lot of community members request that we implement crypto to crypto trading. So we spent a whole lot of developer time over the last couple of weeks looking at ways to implement it. So the plan at the moment is to really implement crypto to crypto trading with a two-stage solution. So the first solution will be to implement it much like crypto to fiat trading, whereas we have the cryptocurrency is always traded on the platform, one of them, and the other cryptocurrency will be transacted off the platform. Now, this might not sound that safe, but it's actually perfectly safe, because due to the blockchain, we can actually verify all transactions, even if they're completed off the platform, as we can just look at the blockchains and the transactions and ensure that those transactions have in fact been successful. Now, we were going to have that implemented either this or next week, but once we spent a bit of developer time and actually implemented it into our testing environment, we realized that there was going to be a lot more of a revamp needed on the front end to make it a really intuitive process, because at the moment it was a little bit ad hoc and we weren't really comfortable releasing it without it being really user-friendly and with some strong upgrades to the user experience. So the next stage of crypto to crypto trading, which will be sometime in the future after the hard launch, will actually be a system whereas both cryptocurrencies will be traded on the platform. So this way, the trade process will be a lot smoother. People have both the balances in their wallets, but this is something for a bit later down the track.
Yeah, if I may add a little detail. I hear myself double. Apologies. I think it's very important to notice that the initial implementation of crypto to crypto trade will be like Daniel said, where the crypto itself will be considered as a payment method, replacing the fiat model, basically, which would be quite indeed intuitive, and that's what we're working on, and allow us to implement a relative large amount of cryptos to pay for the cryptos that are currently listed. And later on, like Daniel said, it will be more integrated with potentially a double escrow model. That being said, Daniel also mentioned, a prettier or a nicer user interface and experience. And this brings us to the following question, again from Abdus. How long do you think it will take to deliver on an aesthetic upgrade of the platform? That's a very good question. I'm actually very, very excited to talk about this topic. Excuse me. So this implies actually two things. One will be quite straightforward, which will be a better upgrade of current user interface and user experience, of much more nicer and fluider interface, more intuitive. And at the same time, we had a nice team meeting where we also listened to several users. Simon Marks sent a nice review both to the community and the team. Had a really nice chat with them, and long story short, what we will do as well, we decided this might take a bit more time though, that we will develop an alternative interface where we'll focus, like other exchanges have a toggle function where you go to a more advanced features with a lot of graphs and I call them epileptic inducing interface. We're gonna go to the other route. So we're gonna implement a toggle function where we're gonna focus on ease of use, simplicity, visual intuitiveness, and of course, moving towards like extreme mobile friendliness. That's something I'm extremely excited about and happy to work on. Simon, a community member, will also be somewhat involved in this as much as he wants or can, of course. And in due time, we will send you guys from, let's say, basic mock-ups iterations of mockups to prettier designs to the, hopefully the final design, where it can go to the front-end developer, which, as you all know, we are hiring more soon, hopefully in the upcoming days. That being said, I think that will be a big push forward, where we can make LocalCoinSwap not just, let's say, accessible in terms of security, accessibility, and inclusiveness, but also in extreme ease of use. I know words don't say as much as pictures, so hopefully, I'm not going to promise a date, but in upcoming weeks we can show a little glimpse of what we're talking about here. Now, moving on to the next question, maybe Taylor, I think that one is for you.
Yeah, so the next question is, are deliverables of the mobile app on track? So in order to proceed with this, we have come to realize that we need to sort of, as Val mentioned, revamp the site and make it like a lot more mobile friendly, just in terms of like accessing it via the web to begin with. And doing this serve two purposes. First, it'll be a lot smoother for people accessing the site on their phone or tablet and whatnot. And secondly, implementing the app will be a lot smoother when we do this. So once we get our new front-end developer on board, we'll be able to see how long it takes for the new developer to integrate to the process and sort of provide the help we need on the front end to get these things done. So just see how we go, and we'll announce more in the future.
And yeah, if I can also add to that, so that sort of alternative interface will be also focused to make it hyper mobile friendly. And there is another thing that I didn't mention is, of course, the SEO component optimization. So the alternative design will focus on all of these things and make sure that we are in hyper prioritization and optimization for SEO. And the same when I say visually slick and easy to use interface implies also the interaction with the mobile phone, which would then be a natural progression towards a mobile app and a mobile use. By the way, Crypto, take it. I completely agree. Hopefully the rest of the community will agree with you that the referral program is the best marketing weapon. Guys, I apologize if we not yet fully interact with what you're saying in the chat of the video, but we want to go through the questions that were posed before, but definitely we'll come back to both the input and questions that you asked there. What's next? I think the next question is again from Abdus, and he asks to reiterate the need for engagement of the community to support the efforts to increase our presence, visibility on social media. Again, of course we can ask, it's up to you guys. Every little bit helps, every little share, reshare, like, mention, of course, also with the link of LocalCoinSwap, this sort of backlinking of good quality domain names also helps from an SEO perspective. Please do assist in every way you can, and keep in mind, this is a long-term process where we want to grow organically, and right now LCS is a beautiful seedling, and hopefully it will grow up quite as fast as possible. But the more you guys engage, assist, help, and talk about it also in other fora, and here I really want to mention that, like, please remain authentic, just be yourself. Like, we don't need shilling or sort of fake pushing of the concept or the brand. It's important that the brand it remains as authentic as it is, and that people can gradually build trust and credibility in LocalCoinSwap. So basically, go out there, have fun, but do mention and click and like, and like I said, every little bit helps. The next one is from Nick. Why can't you arrange LCS with easy to look at order book? I think that's something that Daniel can answer best, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if everyone knows exactly what an order book is. So when you look at a regular centralized exchange, say, and you look at one currency pair, say Bitcoin USD, what the order book does is it actually aggregates all of the buy and the sell orders that people have posted and puts them together in the prices that they're being sold at. So if there's 10 people wanting to sell Bitcoin at a certain price, it will aggregate all of them, and it will say there's X amount of Bitcoin for sale at this price. Now, with a centralized exchange like that, there's only one payment method, and that's because you're looking at one currency pair, in this example, Bitcoin USD. So due to LocalCoinSwap being actually a peer-to-peer exchange, there's a few issues that come about when trying to aggregate all the orders into an order book like a centralized exchange. That mostly being the variety of payment methods that are on offer. So different payment methods come with different fees. Say if you're looking at PayPal or TransferWise, there's very different fees involved, and people like to charge a different premium for using those services. So it would be a bit hard to aggregate them all together into a centralized order book because it wouldn't really give you as much information as it does on a centralized exchange. Whereas it's quite easy to look at LocalCoinSwap in a fashion very similar to an order book. And you can do that just by filtering out the results into what you're looking for. So if you're looking at, say, purchasing Bitcoin using US dollar, you can use the search function up the top of the screen, filter out Bitcoin, US dollar, and all the trades will be shown in a fashion actually quite similar to an order book. So we have another question here, and this one's probably one for Taylor again.
Yes, this one's...
Sorry, Taylor.
Russell Williams, come on down. So his question is, do the team think that in view of Ripple's imminent rollout of XRapid, we are led to believe, we could expedite its inclusion on the exchange? Also, I'm aware most here don't like Ripple, but needs must. I think we must have it. No, to the best of my knowledge, I don't believe the inclusion of XRapid is going to change the like bringing on Ripple onto the platform in terms of like a technical point of view. I don't think it's anything that's going to change our implementation of bringing it onto the platform. As to bringing it on, I definitely, yeah, if the community wants it, we're definitely going to do it. So yeah, but to answer your question, no, it will not change the timeline in which we implement the currency.
Awesome. Thanks, Taylor. We have also a few questions from our Russian group. I hope the Russian community can also watch this. Maybe I think there is an automatic translation for subtitles on YouTube. The first question is for Artem. How long will it take to finish the site updates? Daniel, maybe you have the best view on this as the COO.
Yeah, so the way I look at it is a good site should really never be finished. If you look at Facebook, it's one of the biggest sites on the internet now, and it was founded back in 2004. But it's being updated constantly, almost on a daily or a weekly basis. So we will be currently optimizing our site in line with user feedback, user preferences, and current market trends. So as I said, the site will never really be finished, but we're going to implement all of the things that the users are looking for as soon as we can and prioritizing them in the most effective order.
Awesome, thanks. Next one is from Server 86. When do you plan to start a marketing program? Yesterday. Well, that's half true. So in terms of marketing, I think there are several components here, right? So, you know, let's say the basic posting on social media, a few blog articles, of course, that's there, and it will always keep happening and hopefully improving both in quality and quantity. As I mentioned before, right now we're in full preparation mode to not only optimize the SEO of our website and fully adapt it from that perspective, but also, you know, develop processes where we can keep improving it. Because, for example, SEO is such a thing that it's not or never done. You know, trends change, keywords change. So we'll not only have to implement it once, but we're currently developing processes to you know, keep it in an efficient and effective way. Right after, so this is something that's on our plate right now. The prep work has been done, so we're going to implement this in the upcoming days or a week, depending on how much, you know, effort it will take to research for optimal keywords. In parallel, there is the paid marketing, you know, the total of search engine marketing, let's say, and other ads. That is also now in preparation and research phase. The thing is with the marketing that, you know, we can start doing this tomorrow, and it's very, very easy to spend quite a lot of money. But we really want to make sure that the money spent, sort of each dollar that's spent, is as effective as possible. And I will really have processes and structures in place, not only to improve, but also learn from the the campaigns that we will develop. So I hope this answers, like, in a way, marketing is fully ongoing, things are brewing. You guys might not notice it, but soon, and in a way, we're trying to sort of parallelize this with updates on the website, so that when we have more aesthetic updates, etc., that we can start doing more mass campaigns to attract both new users and traders. Then next question is from
we have one from CC here.
Anatoly? Yeah. Go ahead, Taylor. I think that one is for you.
Yeah, so CC asked, can we please have the option to edit advertisements as a priority rather than deleting the entire thing? That's something that annoys him the most. So the answer is definitely yes. Actually, after this AMA, all the devs getting together and we're having a meeting specifically about this, because although it appears like quite a simple change, we really need to be careful that if you change your advertisement, those changes don't propagate to existing trades and stuff that people have already agreed to. So we're definitely on it. We want to. We could see how annoying that would be. So we want to get that implemented as soon as possible. And we have another question from Anatoly86. I think I pronounced that right. And they are asking, is it safe to transfer LCS tokens from Hotbit to our exchange? So I have seen people say they've done that successfully, but quite hesitant to give a definite yes or no for the simple fact that we do not control how Hotbit does their withdrawals off their platform. So it could work now, and they could change the way in which they withdraw cryptocurrency off their platform, and then it could not work. So I always recommend any crypto service or exchange withdraw to a personal wallet that you own first, and then move it on. The extra 10 cents or whatever in transaction fees could be worth the headache you potentially could cause yourself.
Thanks, Taylor. So we have another question here, which is from Reddit and from someone called Emergent_reasons. Do you require KYC, ID, etc.? If not, how will you keep it that way? So being a peer-to-peer exchange, we don't actually handle any fiat currency on the platform whatsoever. And the rules and regulations for KYC vary greatly depending on what jurisdiction you're in, what currency you're trading, and also the amount and volume of what you're trading. So we have an option if you're a trader and creating a trade on the platform, whereas you can click a little toggle switch and that indicates to other users that you in fact require KYC for all trading. So depending on what you're trading and how much, you might toggle this switch, you might not, also depending on your location. So as I said, some traders will require KYC and some won't, but the platform itself is only for a platform, whereas people can trade directly with each other. They're not actually trading through, say, the platform itself because of the fact that we don't actually support any fiat currencies.
And I think, if I may add, that question might imply, in terms of policy requirements, and there, as we mentioned also often during our ICO, I think it's important to notice that LCS provides a framework to trade cryptocurrencies. And like Daniel said, some will do it as a business, some will do it as a hobby. And, obviously all of them will be in different regions with different legislation. So it is the responsibility of each of those either individuals or businesses to abide by their own legislation or take the risk and not. And this is not an endorsement in any way. So we as let's say, project are quite confident that we will not have to introduce KYC on the large scale for all of the platform users. What's next? I think the next one is from Frisco Players. Is there any other ideas the team has for the escrow service beside trading crypto? Can we also pivot into other services that increase value of brand? I think that's one of my, not the favorite, but like really one of my most favorite questions that I also like to think about. Of course, there is a question of timing, and I think the pivot is not necessarily the word I would use. I'm thinking more in terms of diversification. And of course, one of the, at least for me, and I hope the team will allow me to speak public about this, but it's an idea, and that was the question, is that we have an escrow service in place for crypto So that means that in theory, but also in practice, it will be relatively easy. Nothing is easy, but relatively easy to introduce a cryptocurrency marketplace for goods and maybe even services, where people can have a hybrid of Amazon, eBay, and maybe other service provision with crypto as payment. And obviously, when we gonna have many cryptos listed, all of them could be used as a payment method. But like I said, this is still an idea, and we really need to make sure that we prioritize what we're doing, and that we really focus on our core business, make it grow, and that we over time maybe even have a sort of a lab where we experiment, try things out, and try to focus on things like that, and explore with other partners, both in the crypto space and outside its potential. But of course, from you guys, because a lot of these frameworks and projects are always in function of what users and markets want and need. Personally, I'm aware that, for example, in terms of like mining equipment and different type of gear, this would be a very welcome thing. For a broader market segment, I'm not that sure. So if we can sort of explore further, and we do find some level of proof or market demand, then it will be definitely something interesting to explore. Now, I'm not ancient, but I do have some experience. So ideas are great. And when I was starting in the tech world, I built different projects and tools. But I think the main lesson, or at least one of the most important lessons, is not that it's about only a great product or tool, but that there should be a demand for it from the market, and that people really want to use it and are waiting for it. And I do understand that sometimes people don't know what they want, but still, especially with this sort of volume-based projects, we really have to be not only cautious, but really sort of sample the market and see if there is some level of demand. And of course, partnerships as well, who are willing to provide those products and services. But again, many more ideas, and I can talk about this for hours, and maybe we can and we should, but I think right now, like I said, how I perceive LCS is as a seedling, and really need to make it sort of grow strong and as big as possible in a short space of time, and then we can really like discuss these things and transform ideas into concepts and experiments, and hopefully diversified products. Then I think we finally now reaching the comment or the questions from the YouTube itself. Daniel, I think the next one is for you.
Yeah, so the next question is, when hard launch? So we've actually just had a meeting about a week ago to determine all of the features that we feel are needed for the hard launch, and of course all of the currencies that we announced we're going to implement for the hard launch. So we've now got a spreadsheet set out with everything that we need to do, and we're really just having developers take a deeper look into each of those tasks to give a time estimate of exactly how long it's going to take, because we don't want to just announce, oh, we're going to hard launch in 1 week and then have to push it back. We really want to nail down a specific date before we actually announce anything to the public. But the developers are working very hard and getting everything together as quickly as possible so that we can have a full featured and full currency platform as soon as we can for everyone to use. Okay, we have another question here that said, referrals should be a discount on trading and nothing more. So I think there's a really key thing to remember when you're actually looking at the difference between, say, a discount on trading and paying someone a proportion of the trading fee. So for example, if someone refers someone else and you give that person a 20% discount on their trade, that means that the revenue made by the site is actually 20% less. So if you do exactly the same system, but you give away 20% of that trading fee to the person referring them, the revenue by the site is also 20% less. So it really makes no difference to the actual revenue for the site, and thus the profit that the site makes to be distributed as dividends to the LCS holders. But it really gives more of an incentive for people to actually refer, because it's money in their pocket rather than just money they're saving. And psychologically, people always prefer to have money in their pocket than just save money.
I would like to add something to this. So I really appreciate Lal A's most of comments, but I feel this was more of a statement than a comment. And I think, I would always like to encourage the ideation or the way of thinking behind it. So not to say that someone's opinion is wrong, but so we can understand what's behind it and maybe improve. But as Daniel said, like if we would do discounts on trading, it would only attract people who are trading to do the referring. While like the way I perceive the referral program is actually a way for any third party to really invest time and effort to bring people to our platform for trading. And this wouldn't be achievable with discounts on trading. However, with a commission-based referral system, basically anyone with the skills, and guys, we're in the 21st century, and this might not be yet a really fully formal industry, but the whole concept of influencers and people who drive traffic is a real thing. And in my opinion, those are the main targets for the referral program. Of course, everybody else is sort of welcome to use the eventual referral program. But I think this is a good example why the referral program is somewhat delayed in implementation, as there's so many different opinions. But I really would encourage that in the end we can do a vote. But when somebody has an opinion, it would be really more sort of constructive that we understand the reasoning behind it, so that we can really understand, and maybe we can also learn from it and listen. But at the same time, that it's easy to have an opinion and just throw it in the pond. This is not at all a criticism to LA, but I'm just saying when we have to deal with thousands of people, and of course not everybody is as active as the other person, but at the same time, it's very hard to appease everyone without understanding the reasoning behind it. So please do share your opinions, but also help us understand what's behind it. And a statement like that helps us understand what you think, but not really what's behind or what's really the best. And again, feel free to keep talking. I'm not in any way trying to mute people, but talk more, tell us more, and help us understand, and help us sort of build a consensus together so we can make a decision faster. So the longer this gets postponed, for now it's not a huge problem, but over time, I don't want this to be too much delayed because we can come to a consensus with the community. So please do talk among yourself, and hopefully soon we can find a nice compromise and move forward with that.
Okay, someone has said here, Crypto Tiki has said, please send an email 2 days before the AMA. Thanks. Hopefully I was already on YouTube. So we actually sent an email out 2 days ago announcing the AMA. So if you didn't get that email, please check your spam folder. And if it's not there, just send through an email to team@localcoinswap.com, and we'll just double check that you're on the email list if you signed up for it in the past. And yeah, make sure you're on there so you get future emails from now on. Okay, we've got another question here that says, how is the progress going with candidates for the job opening of front-end developer, SEO, and PPC? So we actually had about close to 100 people apply for the front-end developer job. We picked out some of the best candidates and have interviewed them. And we're just finishing up the interviews at the moment, and we're ready to make some job offers. So hopefully we'll have a new front-end developer on the team in the next week if all goes well. Now, when it comes to SEO and PPC, we're still actually looking for someone that can help to fill those roles. We've had chats with a couple of people, but we're really trying to find the perfect person that's really going to fit in the team and has the relevant experience. So I think the next question might be one for Taylor.
Yep, so Otto Mitos has asked, when will we see volume of crypto indicator? So yeah, that's definitely part of the hard launch. We're working really hard to get that on it. It just involves quite a bit of data pulling and manipulation. It's not something I'm personally involved with. One of our backend devs is involved with it, so I can't give you an exact date or figure or anything. But yeah, we're definitely aware of how important it is to some users, and hopefully we can get it done. I mean, in the next month or two. But don't quote me on that, because I'm not personally doing that. And then another question from Otto. Would it be possible in the near future to buy different kinds of coins with fiat in one transaction from the same seller? So I think by that, you mean like do one fiat transfer and get, say, Ethereum and Bitcoin in the same transaction. In regards to doing that, in the near future, I mean, it would be possible. But in terms of priorities, I don't think that's something we'll be bringing into the near future, just because there's quite a few other features we believe are a lot more wanted by the community and necessary to generate revenue for the site. But in the future, perhaps, if that's something people are interested in, it's something we're capable of bringing in onto the platform. Who do we have next? A question by Auntie, I think. I don't know, Daniel, do you want to, if we all have something to say about this one?
Yeah, so the next question is, when will we vote about how to use the Community Venture Fund? So the great thing about the Community Venture Fund is it actually just accumulates dividends from all of the trading that's on the platform. So right now we haven't even had the first dividend distribution. So it's not really required until we actually have that dividend distribution, as there's nothing there yet to use. We could just sell the tokens as they are, like if everyone wanted to vote on that, but that would really depreciate the value of those tokens and then negate any future dividends that we're going to get. So once we start to raise some dividends and have those dividends sitting in the Community Venture Fund, then we can have a better idea of how much there is. We can garner some more suggestions from the community about what they'd like to see with that, and then from there we can actually go and put it to a vote on what we use it for.
Yeah, I would also add something there, but I feel you discriminate Antti, like his name you didn't pronounce. Let me try. It's Antti Jeskelainen. Is that correct?
It's definitely a better job than I would have done. Sorry. Antti.
Yeah, I hope so. Apologies, I don't mean to offend if not so correct. So I think what Daniel said is more or less what I would also add, because I think, I mean, unless the community has another opinion on it, but the Community Venture Fund is 10 million LCS, which is not a small number. So any LCS holder who keeps LCS actually has also 10% of that venture fund. Now, that's obviously in the form of hopefully future investments. And I think we find it quite straightforward that we assume that the dividends that this crypto fund will receive, because it's an LCS pot basically, so it will also receive crypto dividends on a quarterly basis, that those dividends, and you guys can also decide if the LCS parts of those dividends will retain and keep the fund growing or not, or you can sell them as well. But all the other coins can be actually invested in different types of activities. And we do have some ideas ourselves, but feel free to discuss this among yourselves, because I think there should be a diversified approach where we invest in several types of initiatives, maybe from node staking, potentially mining. Again, it's a little bit up to the community, and of course it needs to be relatively easy to manage. But to give you an example, there are some people out there who manage node staking for a commission and different types of activities. We can also invest in different projects. So it's really something that needs to be discussed properly, and maybe is very relevant when the dividends will be coming in. But of course, it will be good, and maybe somebody in the ambassador program or one of the community managers can retain a list of ideas that some of you think is good, and we can talk about it both in M&As and gradually elaborate so that the ideas can become more actionable towards the, let's say, the time that it's ripe to invest, when the dividends will be coming in. So yeah, again, discuss among yourself, and I don't know if there will be a vote really necessary. If you guys want, we can sort of vote, because we do want several. At least we think you guys will want a diversified strategy of where to invest. So I don't think the vote is the most important part here, but more interesting concepts and projects to invest in, and of course then find some consensus in the community that more or less everybody should agree. And I think by then the voting system, Taylor, correct me if I'm wrong, will be done, so it will be also very easy to vote on the package or several ideas on itself. And again, send us your ideas, and we'll keep a track or a list on it, and we can basically make it concrete in time.
Yeah, I just wanted to add at the end, when we did our first vote during the ICO period, and it was good, it worked, but we did notice a lot of people did struggle with the way we did that vote. So when with the next vote, we want to make it as user-friendly as possible with like a nice interface on our side. So when we're ready to vote next up, we'll have that portal ready.
Thanks, Taylor. Another question from LA. Why did it take weeks to fix a simple misspelled word on the site? It was just fixed this week after multiple complaints by members. Fair enough. Like I noticed that as well myself, and I think we really do our best, and we're not perfect, and some things do slip through the cracks, so to speak, especially the little details. And guys, like I really understand sort of the want for not perfection, but really like not having these type of situations. But I really would like you to consider that we are on a moving train where we're trying to change parts. So it's not the most easy or optimal process that's happening sometimes. But we're really working on it, and we're trying to put things in place that take care of it. For example, we do have that feedback form, but it's not that we can go through it every day or every hour to pick the most easy or prioritized ones. So it takes some time that, maybe some harder tasks are noticed first and added to the developers' tasks. And the smaller details like that are, of course, in time not forgivable. However, right now we're still in soft launch. The community is part of the user base, and we do want to attract a lot of people, so we hope that it didn't really like ruin our reputation, but a small mistake. I really get what you're saying, LA, but keep in mind, we're really working on it, and we want to optimize things. And it's like there's so much on our plate that we have to juggle, keeping sort of the operational everyday activities, planning future tasks, and of course planning strategically for future growth and scale up and resilience. So again, that doesn't keep complaining, keep noticing things, and we'll do our best to avoid these things in the future.
Okay, so we got another question here from Otto Meters, and that is, will we be able to filter and arrange crypto by price in the near future? So the short answer is yes. It's definitely something that we're working on implementing actually at the moment, but it's actually a little bit more complicated than it may initially seem, because you've got to keep in mind that we have various payment methods, some of which have higher commissions. We also have lots of different fiat currencies that they're priced in, and we've got to order the pricing in relation to those different fiat currencies, convert the fiat currencies into one standard currency. So it is something that we're working on, but it's not a very simple task as it may initially seem for the user.
I think I'll take the next one. When the site will be translated to other languages, hopefully very soon, but let me clarify a bit so we're not staying too vague here. So as I mentioned, like right now we have the soft launch, so things are working, trades are happening. We need to make it prettier. We're working on SEO and this parallel user interface, and on processes to make the SEO, the continuous SEO optimization, as efficient and effective as possible. So the translation will happen. Hopefully, the Russian blog will be out soon, and then the Russian version, that will be our first translation, since we have quite a decent Russian community, will happen as well. But of course, we want to make sure that we keep things maybe slightly slower, but in the mid-long term that we can move much faster ahead, where we can have proper frameworks to do this, both the translation, and then each website in its respective language will need to undergo the SEO optimization. So it would be good to have templates and processes there in place. Then also for advertisement campaigns, it would be very interesting to do that in other languages. So it's very important to have, let's say, the English version done as resilient and broad as possible, so that we can move to these translations quite smoothly. I, for one, really understand where this comes from, and I would like is to be fast as well. But at the same time, even within the team, I'll take the responsibility, no problem there. I try to temper them with the speed, because right now is a very crucial component to, build this solid foundation where we can really leapfrog from, hopefully in the future, and gain momentum in. Because if we're gonna do this quickly and fast, we might get lucky and get a lot of people from there and a lot of traffic. But I, for one, don't like to gamble, so I really would opt to, again, to do the structural approach and do this in due time. I'm not gonna, give an indication, but it's not gonna take a lot of months, I hope, to do that. So we'll get to there ASAP when the SEO and the marketing advertisement components are fully optimized. Then my personal focus will be to diversify and internationalize and basically move to different markets where we can transpose, because it's also not going to be a copy paste, but to transpose the components, let's say, or the frameworks, and adjust for both, cultural differences and such, and also, build the communities and make sure we can also maintain a good relationship with them, as we did with our core community. I think that should more or less cover it. Then the next one is from Crypto Takey. Please tell us before you launch the big marketing program, because we will buy some LCS before all new members first. Thanks. Okay, sure. I'll promise to tell it both here, and I guess when you guys ask in other channels like Telegram or anywhere else. I'm not sure if we should, I guess you'll hopefully notice the announcements as well. But thanks for the supportive message. Feel free to buy now as well, right? It's also quite interesting. But yeah, we'll definitely communicate about that both in the M&As, which will happen each month, and then if you guys are interested to follow up in other channels as well. It's hopefully not going to take long. We're going to first again finish the SEO and then start with advertisement. But there, sorry if I take long, guys, but I want to mention one more thing there. In terms of advertisement, we're gonna, and that's me again, sorry for that, we're gonna take a tempered approach where we're gonna develop different campaigns with different target groups, different keywords, experiment, learn, iterate, rinse, repeat until we really get the nick of it, so that we can scale it up and really get the massive traffic there. So even I'll be able to interact with you guys and more or less update you in what phase of that process we are, but it's not going to be like flicker a switch, poof, we dump $500,000 of budget there and let's see what happens. No, it's going to be an incremental, hopefully an organic process that will both improve the effectiveness and the efficiency of campaigns. I think I'll be quiet for a bit now. You guys take it over.
Okay, so we've got another question here from Christopher Cameron, and that is, how many developers, back and front end, do you guys have in total? So currently we have 5 full-time developers working every day, 6 to 7 days a week on the platform, and we also have some outside contractors that come in for specific tasks. Now, we're obviously looking to expand that team at the moment. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking for a front-end developer. We'll hopefully have another one next week. So yeah, the team is constantly expanding from there. Okay, we've got another question here again from Christopher Cameron. What is the current volume of the site? I don't actually have figures of the current volume of the site in front of me at the moment, but I can tell you that we've had between 100 to 200 trades so far on the site. Being a peer-to-peer site, you don't expect there to be like tens of thousands of trades as there are on centralized exchanges, because you don't have people doing high frequency trading or arbitrage trading and things like that. So we think that so far the amount of trades we've had is good. It's a really strong proof of concept. We've had the platform working well and smoothly, but our main goal is to really increase that trading volume, bring people onto the platform. And that's something that's going to happen once we really start doing our big marketing push, once we get the hard launch, get more currencies, and there's really a lot more things on there that people can do, more features, and yeah, there'll be a lot more trading activity happening from there.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. The next one is from Brineko. When dividend tokens are sold on the exchange, will these incur the 1% fee for the next DT, I think the dividend period? Could this get messy if after, say, 4 years, there are potentially 16 DTs wrapped in the next dividend token? I'm not really sure where people get, I mean, people might be wanting to sell the dividend tokens, but it sounds a bit complicated to do that in practice, because every dividend token of every period will have a different basket with a different equivalent value for each cryptocurrency that is traded on the platform. So I think in practice it will be hell to trade, and correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, but I don't think we're going to implement dividend token trading on the website, because like you said yourself, it's going to be a huge mess, and it's also a bit, for me personally, contra-intuitive. So why would you trade dividend tokens when you can just sort of crypto them in or cash them in and trade those, or exchange them for one specific token. But again, I might be wrong, and there might be a need or a demand for it. But I think as it stands now, that's not really on the agenda, because like you said yourself, it would complicate things incredibly, and in my opinion, quite unnecessarily. Because then again, the dividend tokens will be part of dividends, and it will become a mess where we go down the rabbit hole that dividend tokens of one period have. Yeah, I'm not even going to go there because it already sounds quite complicated. I think dividend tokens has really a practical application where they're meant to transparently and correctly distribute the dividends. Now, if some people on their own want to exchange that and make some deals with other people, we can't really stop that. But I don't think we should or will encourage this type of trading or practices.
Oh, so sorry, just to jump in there. So we will actually be allowing people to trade the dividend tokens on the platform, but as has been mentioned, we're still looking at all the possible solutions of exactly how we're going to implement this and exactly what's going to happen with the dividends that are coming out of the dividends of the dividends when we're looking at trading them. So it is something that is going to be tradable, because people might be looking to trade those dividends in for one specific currency, and someone might be able to set up some sort of, say, shop on the site where they can take in people's dividends at a discount, cash them out themselves, and sort of take the time to cash them all out and sell them into one currency and make a bit of a profit off that. But the exact way that is going to work is still sort of being developed and looked over. And obviously we have until the first dividend distribution period to really define how that's going to happen.
Yeah, and I hear what Daniel says, and of course, we also have all our opinions, and we might have different ones. But I think, again, there might be solutions, like especially if the commission from the dividend trading will be, let's say, cashed in, so that we don't come into a very complicated scenario. Guys, don't forget, I'm the marketing officer, so I'll have to go explain this to people, and I'm not really up for it. But yeah, I mean, again, if there is like really a need or a demand, I'm sure the smart guys are much smarter than I am will come up with some ways to do this. But I personally see that there are, that this requires quite some thinking and some time to chew before implementing.
I believe one potential solution to it that I think would be a good candidate is when these dividend tokens are accrued by the site prior to distributing the second dividend token. Say once you start getting to like dividend token inception, those dividend tokens could be cashed in for the cryptocurrencies that they represent, and then could be distributed from there. So in that case, you're not actually distributing the dividend tokens; they would be redeemed for the cryptocurrencies they represent. Yeah. Then the second dividend token would be sent out, preventing this crazy circle of dividend tokens.
And I really hope we get there, but I think that at least from my perspective, there are other things at a higher priority, but definitely something to consider once we get proper volumes and when dividends will be in place, right? So we first have to make sure we have big fat dividends for you guys, and then we can tackle these interesting conceptual problems. Now, next question is from Samad Soliman. Did I understand correctly that KYC could be required in the future for certain traders, depending on jurisdiction, volume, or value of trade? Not really. So the KYC is a very individual thing, right? Like LCS doesn't require KYC. When you look for trades in let's say Bitcoin or LCS or any other coin, there are traders that might say, hey, if you want to trade with me in my country where I reside, I have to ask you KYC, or I ask you KYC because I consider it the best practice, or whatever. So it's really up to individual traders, and they can specify that in their comment section and the description section, where they say, if you want to engage in the trade with me, I require you to be red hair with KYC requirements, like whatever they want, right? So it's really up to the traders, and that's also the freedom of the platform. But it's nothing gonna be from, let's say, the overarching LCS framework to introduce KYC. Is that somewhat clear now, Samad? Let me know if you require some further explanation.
Okay, so the next question here is, how many employees does the company have, and what is the burn rate approximately? So as I mentioned earlier, we're actually looking at taking on 2 new staff, one for helping with SEO and PPC campaigns, and also a front-end developer, which we should hopefully have in the next week. So once we bring on those 2 new staff, we should have about 20 employees, just on the top of my head. And we also have some people that are doing contracting, as I mentioned earlier, for various technical tasks and also sometimes marketing tasks and things like that. So the approximate burn rate is quite dynamic at the moment, given the fact that we're implementing new currencies. And every time we implement a new currency, we have to integrate a whole lot of new servers, and servers are quite expensive to run. And also with the increase in the team size, our burn rate is also increasing. And once we launch our marketing campaign, the burn rate will then increase again. So I think it's around $100,000 a month at the moment. But as I said, it's quite dynamic, and that will be changing over the next few months, depending on exactly the marketing campaigns we're running, the extra employees we take on. But in the future, we expect that to sort of settle down a bit and get a bit more of a steady burn rate where we can really analyze and optimize from there.
Yeah, but just to add, like, that burn rate is gonna increase considerably. You know, for example, I had also a few calls with SEO experts, and you know, there are options to get retainers to do everything in house. But for example, a thing like that would cost another 10K a month or more. Also consider marketing, which we haven't started doing yet. So you know, please don't keep that run in mind. And because I don't want to go back to the team, because they'll say, Val, we said to the community it's this much. It's gonna hopefully expand considerably for, you know, both the more employees and different costs. But again, you know, hopefully soon we can make profits. But I think, like I mentioned, with the sort of gradual expansion of the marketing activities, it goes the same for the budget. And not only, you know, both for the marketing and the expansion of the team, because, you know, all these things we mentioned, we have this whole, you know, I talk here from my perspective, the SEO, the marketing, and different languages, because obviously over time we would need, you know, managers for each region or a language where the support is there as well, and the marketing is done and the communication. So the team should be able to grow rapidly, and often this will require investment. You know, we can't always wait to make money to spend, you know, to expand further. So this will take, you know, a proper proportion. So the numbers you might hear, even, you know, it will change maybe even in weeks' time or definitely in months. And it will be always fluctuating, obviously often going up. But hopefully this will also be accompanied by some success rates and volumes and profits as well. But again, you know, I think this is very important, that because I know how the mind works. People pick up a number and then run with it. Please don't do that. And you know, feel free, you can ask that again other times, but consider it as a dynamic sort of a function or a graph that's not a fixed line where you can calculate approximately what the cost will be. Yeah, don't get me in trouble, guys, because I'll have to beg for more budget for marketing and other efforts.
Yeah,
now,
clear about that. Sorry.
The amount that's spent on servers and whatnot is also somewhat dependent on the amount of users we have on the site, which is like very hard to predict ahead of the time. So we may need to spend more money on servers, or we may be able to like make it more efficient and whatnot.
Services also support people, you know. I think in terms of like, there is a whole list, like, but let's not get into that. But just keep in mind, it's a dynamic thing, so it's gonna increase, and hopefully, you know, and that's why I say, like, this can increase very fast. But when I mention, you know, I want to go slow with certain things to make sure they're done well, so that the money that's spent is spent properly. Because also, you know, when hiring new people, you know, we mentioned some errors that we missed. We also need to make sure we are able to train them, to communicate them, bring them up to speed. So it's really, you know, it's not an easy feat, but really, you know, we love doing it, and you guys have been great in support so far. Now, the next one is from Crypto Takey. Venture fund, also for knowledge, training, sellers and buyers, hire best designers, hire best developer, doing best advert, found best partner, participate to the best crypto meeting, and be fast as possible. Hey, Crypto Takey, I'm all for it. I'm not sure if you will be able to convince other community members or investors about this, but definitely, you know, the venture fund can be adopted for different things, especially if you know, community members are interested to do this themselves, to train themselves, educate, and of course in doing so generate more volume for LCS. But I really am very hopeful, and I'm going to reiterate this over and over and over again, that the LCS community and investors should be as active as possible. Because like it or not, we say we're into this together. It's an inclusive project. It's all great, and that's true, but you guys are really co-owners. So especially with the venture fund, you guys should also discuss, get a bit more active. It's fine if you don't, but I think it's a great opportunity for the investors to also explore the crypto space, maybe, following Crypto Take his input, improve their skills, discuss, and in doing so, always obviously think of how to generate value for LCS community. But at the same time, don't forget this is, like it or not, more or less a communal project. So there needs to be sort of a support base for these type of initiatives. But, we're really supportive for this, and we really hope that a lot of initiatives and ideas will come where, I had a call yesterday with Kevin, and I saw Big Vince today as well, where we really want to focus that ideas are great, but then we need to refine them into concepts that are implementable, where the value is a more or less visible or understandable, not just for us and the ones that are presenting them, but for the rest of the community. And please do not underestimate that. That's quite a lot of work, and it's your thing as well, especially the fund. So do stand up a bit and get in the active mode. It's really fun, guys. Like, I know it's an investment of time, etc. But for example, this is very personal. Like, I'm not complaining at all, but I think most of us do the job and have a hat of 3 different people. And I find this a great opportunity because, yes, I have to work extra hard and extra long sometimes, but that also implies that I'm also learning so many things, even more, gaining more expertise, get to know people. People know both us, the project, and me personally. So, I really would like to activate you, and if any one of you even has a slight understanding of this potential, I would really encourage you to, be as active as you want or can, because it really pays off, not only with crypto dividends, but also for a personal investment. And, the ones that added me on LinkedIn, they know my tagline at the end is, the best investment is in yourself. So, I understand that in this world that sometimes, it's a lot of effort, we don't want to do it, but the effort has also a lot of value in personal development. So again, I see this as a huge platform and opportunity for the community to introduce such ideas and concepts to grow further. I can keep talking. I notice we're already over 1 hour. Maybe one more question. I think that's one of the last ones. Val from Brineco, I vaguely remember you being referred to as an LCS spiritual advisor. Do you have some underlying spiritual guidance? And how does this influence your work ethic and vision for LCS future? Okay, wow, that's that's an unexpected question.
I want to hear this one. Big one.
Taylor, you know a bit about this. I think, I like to consider, I also have design thinking passions, but I try or happily meditate on almost a daily basis. And for me, it's all about, sort of not only self-improvement from a negative perspective, but also self-understanding and self-knowledge. And, when, at least I personally, I hope you guys don't mind it, I feel put on the spot here a bit. When I, consider inclusiveness, I try to think of it like as a child. For me, it's not like a concept like, oh, let's all hug, but more like, what does it really mean for me? And not only that concept, but in general, where I try to, both not only dumb it down, but look at things as a system, as a dynamic moving system where the center and the balance are quite important. Look, this is something, and I really like talking about this. I just feel a little bit shy, believe it or not, but it's a topic that I can talk about for hours and hours, if not more, or days, and I would happily do so. But yeah, I think, for me personally, it's all about sort of this getting to know myself, and interacting with people are mirrors to get to know that. And not only get to know myself, but by getting to know myself, I not only feel or think, but I really factually grow as an individual and a person in very positive sense. Again, feel free to ping me, or we can discuss this more later, but we're running over time, so I'm going to jump to some other questions. Which one is next? I think it's Bruneko as well. No, it's from Samad Soliman. Is it possible for LCS to make a loss during a quarter? If yes, no dividends. Ooh, that's a tricky one. COO, what do you think, Daniel? How? I never even considered that, to be honest.
So it is possible, yes, to make a loss during a quarter. I guess a loss just means that we don't make as much revenue as what the ongoing costs are. So whether or not no dividends are paid, that really depends on a few things. And if obviously we make a loss in the first quarter, there's a good chance we still pay the dividends because we have enough of the ICO funds to keep us going. But if the platform's running for a year or two and then we make a loss, then yeah, it doesn't really make sense to be paying dividends because we won't be able to keep the platform live at that point. But as with any other project, we really expect volume to be increasing over time, and the ongoing costs should only be increasing in line with the volume and revenue that's coming in. If we're increasing costs a lot faster than we're increasing revenue, then we're doing something wrong. So yeah, while it is possible to make a loss during a quarter, obviously the aim is to increase the platform, increase the volume, and increase the dividends as quickly as possible.
Just one, sorry guys, just one more addition. I think if I can sort of translate, we have a war chest and a coffer now from the ICO, and I think what Daniel said, like until that's not depleted, dividends will keep coming. But of course, you know, every crisis can happen, like down, you know, in a year, 2 or 3, or whenever, for whatever reason. And that's exactly, you know, that's why I interceded. That's exactly why I find it's important now. We do have this war chest to spend it wisely so that we can minimize or, you know, even obliterate that type of risk, so that our user base is strong, we're active in different regions, etc., so that we've done everything possible to avoid this type of situations. Again, you know, we cannot predict every possible scenario, but we're really doing our best to make sure that we have a steady growth and that, you know, things like that wouldn't happen. Okay, guys, I think it's time to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here, and everybody else watching later. I hope you enjoyed. As always, if you have questions, comments, suggestions, I think by now you know where to find us, as there is a comment section also later in this video. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Telegram, and almost every other channel. We also have a Discord group that's gradually growing. Feel free to jump in there, a little bit more structure there. And as always, every little bit helps. Spread the word, and, you know, talk with your mates, talk with your friends, partners, family. If you want, never force it, stay authentic. And thank you for being here. Bye-bye, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thanks a lot,
guys.
See ya.